I don't know, 4 years passed.
Yeah, man, 4 years, 4 years. How are you? Are you in Israel now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Israel, and yesterday we moved to another apartment in Tel Aviv. So yeah,
Uh,
everything is going great,
how
as
is
good as it's possible, I think.
how's work and everything?
It's confusing. I'm looking for a job right now, but I don't speak Hebrew yet. I'm the beginner in Hebrew, and it definitely limits me in the spectrum of available job
Yeah,
positions.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
I'm on my
understand.
way.
I understand.
Everything's
I
fine.
understand. I mean, and now is it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. What time is it? 10 o'clock.
It's 10. It's 10.
Are you like in your house or were you working? Did I like?
I'm yeah, I'm in my house, in my new
Okay.
house.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you, Masha, for taking out time. I mean, I do this podcast with different people, and for a long time I actually wanted to talk about this issue, but then like you don't want to you don't want to make a podcast, in the middle of a war when people are like dying. So I thought I'll wait for a while, but then it's been like almost a year now, and I've been wanting to speak to people, and you're one of the only Russians I know, and you were kind enough to show me around back in the day, and I thought I'll speak to you now because now I think it's been like 10 months. I'm not going to take much time. Basically, we already know what's going on, and I don't want to dissect it, and I don't want to put you in a position also where we take any names. So I will not put you in a compromising situation as well. But everyone knows what we are talking about. So fair enough. You can without taking names. You can fire your answers, and yeah. So basically, not dissecting what has happened. We all know what has happened. It's been like what I was just going through the timeline, and the first it started back in 24th Feb, so it's going to be a year now. And there has been a lot of you know the world has reacted in a different way, mostly in a way which we all wanted the world to react to. Mostly 90%, I think the world has reacted in a way which, like everyone has condemned. Yeah, we all, that is a uniform reaction from everywhere. But what happens in the end is, the people suffer. So that is what I wanted to talk to you, because people from both sides suffer. So today I'm not going to talk about Ukrainians, who have, I know a lot of people, I know a lot of friends who are from Hungary, who actually have seen people, you know there has been mass exodus from Ukraine, who have moved there. I live in Dubai now. I've seen a lot of influx of Ukrainians who have actually come here for jobs, blah blah blah. But even Russians, even they have actually, you know, they don't have much opportunities there. Probably it was less back then, but with, like the world has cut them off everywhere. In terms of, say, transactions and blah blah blah. I mean, for God's sake, they even took off the McD. Like one McDonald's and Starbucks, they took that off as well. So there has been repercussions. You can never say like both sides have suffered equally. Yes, you can never measure things. You can never quantify, but people have suffered from the other side also. And like a normal citizen of Russia who, say, just wants to go and work and does not want to have a viewpoint of the war, leave the war, but they are suffering. So I wanted to know from your point of view, because the other day I went with my wife to a resort, and back in the day in UAE, you see, the entire staff being either Filipinos or Indians, or but right now there are so many Russians, and they're working. They're like, you see a lot of them there, and you realize that this is because of, you know maybe lack of opportunities there, or so I wanted to know from you. Sorry, it's a long question, but it's the gist is the same. What is your viewpoint, that how do things reverse back? Do you think things can go back to what it was, or you think this is how it will be now and for a long time?
Wow. Things absolutely cannot go back. Like, no way. There were a few thresholds and we have lost all of them. There is only one more left with nuclear weapon, and I hope that nobody would ever use them.
I hope so.
But I mean, millions of people have immigrated. Russian economics is destroyed, and it will require decades to restore it, to have it back.
True.
And most of the businesses, shops left the country. And some of my friends who immigrated and they visited Russia to see their families and friends, all of them repeat the same thing, that you come to another state. We left, okay, not democratic Russia, but we left Russia that we loved and
Yeah.
that was full of life. And at least Moscow and St. Petersburg, okay, two big cities, it was full of opportunities. They were rich, prosperous, perspective, friendly, tolerant. Like they were wonderful cities. But now it's not anymore for sure. And we don't even talk about that Z banners, but that's about our friends who left the country. I think I have only like 2 or 3 friends who still stay there out of like 20.
Oh, all of
And
them left,
that's
yeah?
kind of crazy. Yeah. Like we all immigrated because we look for the future, because we don't want to support the regime, neither without taxes nor with compromises. You know, when you stay in Russia, you can't be not involved. Like even if you work, you have to choose what to say, whom to say, how, when,
Yeah.
why. Will you defend an innocent person or will you stay aside? And these compromises are absolutely unavoidable. I think it's too much to compare it with Nazi Germany. However, we are on our way for a
Yeah,
different.
I kind of agree with you. Yes. Yeah. Agree. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that like what is happening is Nazism. I don't think so. But the restrictions and censorship are enormous, and political repressions are absolutely like crazy. Like everybody can suffer, everybody can get convicted with no real reason. Sometimes with reason, but like it just means there is no freedom, no liberty. You can't.
Can you compare your current Russian scenario with the one going on in Iran? Say not exactly the same, but in a different way. Both are, say, okay, Iran, what's happening in Iran is again, it's a shocker. But can you compare the scenario of people's freedom in Iran and Russia right now? Almost like, similar, like nothing or worse.
Mm,
Or
I don't
better.
know. Like I find Iran creepy.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Iranians are wonderful people. However, what's happening in their country is like it's Middle Ages. Like the fact that women cannot be educated and that they have to cover themselves completely. This is not what it is in Russia. I don't think that this comparison is fair. And Russian citizens definitely all know or remember the Soviet Union. And what we have now is much more similar to the Soviet Union and those political repressions than of Iran or Northern Korea. No, like this is way too much even for us.
But Masha, I mean, what I wanted to again ask is only if you are okay to answer. Again, we're not taking any names, but is it difficult for right now? Okay, you are in Israel. You're telling me your friends have all left. Is it very say because we are a very Facebook and Twitter oriented world. In 2022, 2023, people love to be vocal about their viewpoints. Say you don't like the government, we go out and we tweet, okay, at Donald Trump, I don't like your blah blah blah. Since the beginning of the war, you think, because I've heard, I've seen things, being vocal about this is also a problem. You have seen people, have you seen people being convicted or being suppressed because they are putting out their views which is not in line with the government, like stuff, things. You probably, there are
Yeah,
thousand
of
things
course
which
I
you don't
did.
like, you know
Yeah, I mean, of course I did. Me personally, I was in Georgia since November 2021. I just wanted to skip Russian winter and come back in February or March and didn't come back because of the war. But like all of my friends were in Russia at that time, most of them. And They went to all the possible demonstrations like every single day. And yes, people got arrested just from being outside. And, like they had so many jokes that at the beginning, people were standing with the banners saying no to war. And then the word war was prohibited, and they changed the letters into the stars. So there were stars instead of the letters, and they were standing with them. They were also arrested for them. And then the next stage was when they stood with the blank sheet, a sheet of paper in their hands, and they were arrested for this. But that's not the end. Then they were just standing, holding their hands like that without a paper. And they were arrested for this because everybody knows what it means.
Yeah.
And we also have a credit card that is called Mir. Mir means peace. And it is a credit card. It's like a state credit card. Like people were standing and showing it in the metro, like in the underground station. So they found different ways. One of the most well-known action was when the person changed the prices in the shops. There are like on the shelves, there are little papers with the prices, and the person changed those prices into anti-war expressions, or like this number of people was killed in Bucha or something like that. And this person was arrested. And what is also important about the arrest is not only that it's dangerous for your health and for your life, like you can be um, bitten, but also that some people take pills like against depression,
Yeah.
or because of diabetes or anything else, and you cannot have these pills when you're arrested. And this is not other people know or take into consideration. However, yes, also there were risks of being kicked out of the universities and being fired from their jobs. And the state threatened to the head officers and ministers, like, and they made people, they had to report if some people went to participate, and everybody posts, like when people go to the demonstration, they make a story in Instagram or
Yeah. Yeah.
Facebook, and it's a sign of solidarity. Like they do it to show that you're not alone. Like this, our demonstrations have no other sense. Like we all know that our demonstrations won't make people stop the war, make Putin stop the war. However, this is the only way we have to show that there are a lot of us and we all are against, and you're not alone with your fears, with your worries, with your concerns, with your views. And like, let's stay then together. Let's demonstrate our solidarity. And this is extremely important. And that said, I was abroad in the beginning of the war in Georgia. And Georgia is very solidar with Ukraine because Russia invaded them in 2008, and they also wanted to go to the EU and to NATO. And every second house in Tbilisi has Ukrainian flag. And I felt very good with it. Like, yes, we are on the same wave. We are all very actively against. And like I could participate in their demonstrations, but like they're not so full of sense and of meanings. So I helped some a little with humanitarian aid, but mostly I felt that I should make posts on social networks because my friends in Russia couldn't do them. And I could express, and I got likes, and I got like comments like, "Thank you for doing it. Like, we want to feel. Can you please repost and spread this piece of information with a sign of a green band?" People just hang them on the fence or on the trees, and it was a sign of a peace. It was dangerous. You could be arrested for hanging a green band. Like, it was absurd. It's like sure, absolutely. So yeah, that was it. Do I feel that people were suppressed? Yes, I do. Do I know people who were kicked out of the universities? Yes, I do. Do I know people who were fired? Yes, I do. Do I know people who got divorced because of different views? Yes, I do.
Oh.
Do I know people who wanted to break up and decided to stay together because it's easier to be together right now? Yes, I do. Do I know people who decided to leave the country because of the war? Yes, I do. Do I know people who decided to stay in the country to do as much as they can? Yes, I do.
But have you gone back since after 2021? Did you go back to Russia again, or like you haven't entered?
No,
No way.
no, I haven't. I really want to go this year in 2023, just because I miss
Yeah,
my
yeah,
people
yeah.
and
Of
my
course, of
country,
course.
and I like
Is it a
it's
risk?
nostalgic.
Is it a risk going back there, or it's fine? I mean, I mean, do you see any
That's a good
risk?
question. I think, like, I'm female, so I cannot be drafted. Like, men definitely should not go to Russia. Like, absolutely no, like zero, because
Okay.
they will get the draft notice and they might not be able to leave the country again because they have to
Oh,
pass the custom office. I'm a female, so I'm fine with it. That's not my risk. I can go there. However, we made a research um, about torture in police offices and prisons and in colonies in Russia. And there is my name, and I'm proud of it. um, and their organization, the Human Rights Defenders, their organization, who were our clients, who ordered this investigation, they were labeled as foreign agents, which is like all like respectful organizations labeled as foreign agents or illegal. Maybe you've heard that, you might have not heard. Yesterday, Medusa on social media, which is one of the biggest and one of the most liberal, they were claimed foreign agents a while ago and they moved to Riga, Latvia. And yesterday they were forbidden, like Navalny's, like his the leader of Russian opposition, Alexei Navalny, had his own organization, Funds Against Corruption. I'm not sure, like, this is translation from Russian, but maybe they have a better translation in English originally, I don't know it. So yeah, they were also claimed as illegal. And it means, what does it mean? That if you have a repost on your somewhere like 5 years ago, you made a repost and they find it, you can be arrested. But you will get administrative trial. On the demonstration, you also get an administrative trial. It's a case. And you just have to either pay a fine, which is like 30,000 rubles, or you can be arrested for 15 days and you'll be like in jail for 15 days. Um, that's it. But after two administrative cases, the third one is already more serious. I'm not sure that I know the right term, but yeah, that's it.
oh,
The third case is when you can get imprisoned, like you can go to the colony. Uh, I think that I'm safe. That it's not dangerous for me to go to Russia. I'm afraid to be upset. Uh, I
yeah.
uh, I still want to
Um,
go. Like I do want to see. It's important to be in those times on the same page. And I haven't been there for a while, for more than a year. And especially in the February and March, it was crucial because we had an abyss between me and my friends there because we both had problems. Like I decided to stay abroad and it was an extremely hard decision for me. That's not what I planned. I didn't say goodbye to my family. I didn't say goodbye to my friends. Like all of my stuff is in Russia, like everything. It was hard. And also Russian bank cards stopped working abroad.
yeah,
They
I
could not
was
be approved.
gonna come back to that. Yeah, I was gonna ask. I mean,
Yeah, and also Russian rubles, they started cost twice less and the price for the apartments became three times more. Like I had something to worry about. And also I have friends in Ukraine for sure. I have friends in Russia and I was like, oh, if the war is in Russia, I will come back like immediately. And my mom was like, no way, you'll stay abroad. So yeah, that was it. And my friends in Russia, of course, experienced something completely different. It was very frightening and we have never experienced anything like that. Even though the demonstrations before, like demonstrations for Navalny, which were like 2020, 2021, and demonstrations before that, like they have never been safe. It was always kind of dangerous to participate. We all know that when you go there, you risk. However, it was doable. And now I'm not sure that it is.
thank you, Masha, for telling all of this. Sorry, I will interrupt again. And there was, I mean,
Sure.
you told me about your bank cards not working. Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, that's what the international governments and everyone has done to Russia is cripple them of everything, try to cut them off from everything. But what I wanted to ask you is, have you, because you still hold a Russian passport, so have you been in some sort of situations in last 1 year where, I mean, I hope not, like you being a Russian has been a problem for, say, wherever you go, like you flash your,
I know what you want. Yeah, I know what you mean.
you know
I know what you mean. Yes, it like me personally, I was lucky because I had Russian passport and I moved to Israel for citizenship. I got Israeli citizenship, so now I have a wonderful blue passport. Thank
This
you.
is my thumbs up to you. Wow. Wow, amazing.
But 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 I mean, thanks to Georgia, Armenia, Israel, Turkey, I don't know, Serbia, all those countries which accept a lot of Russians, and like Israel provides a huge state help, like enormous help, and like they are fantastic. However, okay, I will talk about Israeli politics later, but what I wanted to say is that my friends who don't have any reason to get another citizenship as fast as I did, it's hard for them because they do want to live by law in the countries where they immigrated and they cannot get a residence permit. They don't have a reason to have residence permit because you can have it only if you work in the country or you marry the
Yeah.
person of that nationality. And most of us still work remotely for different countries, not only for Russian companies. And when you don't have residence permit, you have to apply for visa, and you cannot. We have to apply for visa because we have Russian passports, and Russians need
Yeah. Yes.
visa for every country almost. And you cannot apply for visa in the country where you live if you don't have residence permit. See what I mean? If you don't have a residence permit, you have to go back to Russia to
Yeah.
apply to go to another country, and it's a trap. You're
You go back
trapped.
and you can't come out again.
How?
You go back to Russia and you don't get to come out again. Like something like that.
Yeah, like it's fine. It's fine when you're female, and thanks if you have money to go there and back. But what if you're a guy? Like you don't want to do the military service, you don't want to fight against Ukrainians, and you still want to go somewhere? Like it is not possible. And not, I mean, my surrounding is mostly privileged enough to have passports. We all have them. Some people didn't have, like, especially if they live in the middle of the country, not Moscow and St. Petersburg, which are pretty close to the borders, but closer to the Ural Mountains or the Asian part of Russia. It's just unnecessary for them to have passports. And then when you apply for the passport, it is expensive. It takes months to make a passport, to produce it. And it is like not possible to leave the country in a few days. And some countries like Georgia and Kazakhstan also accepted a lot of Russians, thanks Kazakhstan too. They restricted the rules of legalizing, like getting the
Legalizing.
residence
Yeah, yeah,
permit.
yeah.
Like in Georgia, you could have lived for 1 year, then you could leave the country for 1 day and go back.
Go
Like you
back.
could go to
Yeah. Okay.
Armenia,
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Like,
example.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
now it's impossible. Like in
Impossible.
Kazakhstan, it's impossible. And you can't just go back to Russia for 1 day and leave it, or to Mongolia. It doesn't work anymore. Like,
It's a process. Yeah.
and this is hard. Like people want to be like not to participate in the war, not to support it. At the same time, they're not allowed to live abroad. Even if they want to follow the rules, like they want to have an official documents to like to be nice, to be friendly, to respect the culture, even if they learn the language of the country where they live. And even though it is so much harder because of our passports, it's not for everyone like that. Like that's for us, and that's upsetting because um, yeah, I mean, you see, so.
So at least for you, I mean, with you having right now the Israeli passport, for you, at least the rest of the world, opportunities in rest of the world opens up. At least,
Except of Arabic countries.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, Dubai is good. Dubai is a friend of Israel. Dubai is a friend of UAE is a friend of Russia also. Yeah. So Yeah, I think, I mean, still, I think you are still probably in a still slightly better position, I guess, with your passport. And I mean, I cannot
This is true.
imagine people all of a sudden, I mean, do you have to surrender your Russian passport, or you can still have both? Yeah, you can still have
I can
both.
still have both. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you can actually go back to probably Russia being an Israeli, you don't have to probably.
And yeah, officially, I have to, when you go to Israel, you have to show Israeli passport. And when you go to Russia, you have to show Russian passport.
Ah,
You're not
okay.
allowed to show another passport. But that's okay. That is also interesting that Israeli politics is organized in such a way that they really like people who make Aliyah, who come back to Israel, to this country, and they give you a citizenship in like a few days, and they give some money to live because Israel is extremely expensive. And a lot of Russians and Ukrainians came here, took the documents, and left the country. And
Oh,
Israel doesn't support it because, like, it's against its ideas
of
and its
course. Yeah,
values.
yeah, yeah.
And they also try to adapt it. But also, you asked me in the beginning what about my job, and I have recently applied for a job in a refugee organization, the organization that helps refugees in Israel. And mostly they have been working with Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Sudan in the northern African countries. And since the last year, they decided that they also want to open a project for Ukrainians because there are a lot of them. And mostly Ukrainians who come here are women and women with children because their men have to stay in Ukraine. They are not allowed to leave the country. And the executive director of that organization, she says that human traffic has significantly increased and sex
Yeah,
exploitation because people who come here are unprotected.
yeah,
But at the same time, even though like Ukrainians suffer, uh, another point is that the politics, how Israel helps Ukrainians who are white and how they help people from the Northern Africa who are black. These are two different ways.
yeah.
And
I
the
get
white
that.
people
Yeah,
get so much more support, and this is so incredibly racist. And this is so unfair.
I
You know,
know.
like this.
I
And
mean,
I
I'm an
applied for the
Indian. I
position
know
of the
this. I know this
I applied
better
for
than.
the coordinator of this new projects for Ukrainian. We'll see how it goes. And she was like, "Are you sure that like you are Russian and it's fine for you to help Ukrainians? Like, do you realize that you will be questioned about it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I do realize. Like, the prices on the market depend on my nationality." Of course, I do realize that I'm Russian. Like, I'll never forget about it. I think I'll have to explain myself in like 20, 30 years. I will be questioned. And coming back to the beginning, your first question, will things ever be back? No, they won't.
It won't. Yeah, I mean, I wish so. I mean, because I'll tell you what, before closing out this podcast, see, I live in Dubai. I work for the oil industry, and since what, March last year, because there has been so many sanctions on Russia, like from US dollars to credit cards to everything, you know. But then again, there are ways, somehow, because of this war, there are a lot of oil companies and shipping companies who are making money off this war, in a sense that, because a lot of countries are not able to do business with Russia. There are business with Russia, they suddenly, it's the biggest, greatest time for them. And I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, to each his own. But for the opportunists, yes, I won't say opportunists, though. I think, I don't want to blame economics and business to take this advantage, because again, that would be unfair. People will take advantage of something. But I'm saying what this has presented to the world is, a totally different picture. I've seen here, there is a tower which has been built, which solely has all the Russian companies who are going to set up their offices from Jan or Feb. Gazprom, you just name it. They didn't have offices in Dubai before. Like Gazprom is coming to Dubai. Can you believe it? Like, so this has never happened before. And even Rosneft, I think you've heard of Rosneft. Yeah? Rosneft is also another,
Mhm.
it's a Russian giant, and even they are actively, I think they've already opened their offices and many more like that. Same, I'm saying this because same has happened with Iran as well, because there are, of course, there are always companies and organizations who will do business with you when the other world, doesn't. And yeah, I mean, that way, you see an influx of Russians over here, and all of a sudden, because UAE has always been like a very, Indian and Middle East centric. Right now, the amount of Russians and Ukrainians you see here, it is probably, at par with, say, because Indians, I mean, we are the most in the world anyways. When the Indian population is like coming at par with the Russian population, you see, there is a lot of migration happening. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. I mean, of course, good for anyone who's trying to have a great life. But the point I wanted to make is, because of this war scenario over here, the amount of changes it has brought, the amount of opportunities also. Probably, I don't know if the guys, the Russians who probably they're having a good life. I mean, they have the money and they're getting a good job over here. Probably, because a few whom I've spoken to, they're kind of happy. I mean, in a country where you don't have to, outrightly, you're not rejected basis your passport. Nobody gives a damn, actually where you're coming from. And it's good that way. It's good that way. But many of them I've spoken to, they still probably want to go back to Russia in due course. And, but yeah, I mean, what feedback I've, got from most of the people is they don't see this reversing at least for 2 decades. I mean, for what has been done, you know, of course, you can't undo anything, or you can't, but even if you apologize, probably you have to apologize, as a president or as a regime. I think even if you apologize for the next 100 years, it's similar to, Nazi Germany. I'm just, you can never compare two events. But, if I have to give a right example, say, I would probably equate this to Holocaust, and, similar, if not less, if not more, not quantifying, but, the damage the Holocaust did back then to people, their psychological lives. I think this is kind of similar, and I think even if it stops, I hope it stops. Yeah, but I still think the impact will go on for at least a decade minimum. I think, yeah, that's about it. I'm very happy for you, but Masha, good one, good you made it out, and nice to know that Israel has been, and I keep seeing your updates as well, and that's why I thought I'll invite you for this podcast. And yeah, man, thank you for coming and speaking out.
Can I respond? Can I respond to your last
Of
video
course,
about
of
the
course.
comparison with Holocaust? I'm not sure if it's possible. Like the Holocaust is so specific and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
unprecedented.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
Have you heard about genocide in Armenia?
Yes. Armenia and
I think
Azerbaijan.
it's
Armenia with Azerbaijan, right? The issues with.
right. No, it was what you said is Nagorno-Karabakh, and what I said is Armenia suppressed by the Ottoman Empire,
Ah,
and
yes.
and that why I think that it's closer than the Holocaust because the stories, the narrations are quite similar. Like I think it is much more cruel than what is happening now. Like I'm not sure. Like I don't know what is more cruel, what is less cruel. That is
Yeah.
like
That's what
as the
I'm
limit.
unable to quantify.
Yeah, but Armenian genocide, I don't know how to pronounce it, was never really admitted. Turkey has never apologized for it. They have never paid any money, and that they would have had to give the territories back and like apologize on the political arena, but they would never do it because Turkey is in the NATO, and the
Yeah,
NATO doesn't want to have any problems. So yeah, that's the one point that I think that the Holocaust related to Jewish people is like very special and like nothing can be similar to it. Its
Yeah.
like extent was like excessive, like unbelievable. And another point I wanted to make was that I have a boyfriend who's Israeli, and he speaks Hebrew, English, and Russian, and he reads news every day in Hebrew and English. And he, like, I read news mostly in Russian, sometimes in English, and we discuss what we read. And I read a lot of news about tiny actions of protest, like how people still resist, how much they do, how much they get suppressed, like from different tiny activities, or not tiny, or maybe huge actions. And these news are not in English or Hebrew newsletters. They're just not there. Even BBC doesn't write about them. And I know that it's been the year, and people get tired of it. It's not their work. They're not that
Yeah.
interested. However, I want to say, and then like I want to make it clear that a lot of people are still against, and they fight, and they suffer, and they do their best. And we are for Ukraine, and peace to Ukraine, freedom to Russia, as
Yes.
always.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Of course. And yeah, thank you so much, Masha, for showing up. And let me actually stop recording first, then I'll give you my thanks separately.
Sure.
Yep, I have stopped the recording. Did I stop?